they said you have to be able to. We put a feeding tube in.
Oh no, that's a big mistake. Say that with my mom.
Thank you very much for such a nice welcome. We can remain standing as we let the record reflect we have reconvened with all members present as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is very special today. I ask that you remain standing after the pledge for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So please remain standing. Excuse me. For mention of D-Day, I want to have a moment. One of the moments of silence is for Richard Noonan, our past superintendent, who died on May 26th. Memorial service will be this Saturday. But also, let's take a moment, as we're 4 days after D-Day, or on day 4 into the Normandy invasion, to recognize all those who landed that day, ready to give their lives, those that didn't come home, and those, it's our hero, Vincent Hines, who came home, but this world was different for their bravery. Let's take a moment to recognize. Thank you. Take a seat. Here. We have a motion for the executive minutes of May 13th and May 29th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
This has already been discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for the minutes of the regular meeting minutes of May 13th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome all to this very special night. Just a few comments before we get to recognize our guest. In the past 2 weeks, I've got to do a couple of exciting things. I was at the Chamber Awards dinner last week and got to present John Morris, who is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, with a distinguished service award for his service not only to the Chamber but to this town. As I pointed out, John represents Generation 3 of the Morris family leadership to town. His grandfather was a mayor, sat in this very chair, I think probably this very chair. His father, Jack, was a council member, and now John leads through his second time around with the Chamber. And the Chamber is 200 members strong and couldn't happen without his great leadership. This past Tuesday was primary day. I want to thank all those that went out to vote and thank Liz for the smooth election day. process. In a little bit, under correspondence, our clerk will be reading into the record a letter from the trustees noting that the Rodin that used to sit in the corner there has been sold. The artwork belongs to the trustees, and it was decided that it would be very difficult to bring back the Rodin into this building, and so the trustees have sold it. The proceeds go back into the trust, which supports this very building. So we look forward to working with the trustees in the future to really take care of our building. And what turned out to be one of the toughest jobs in my 8 years of being mayor was being a celebrity judge for the Kings Road School Talent Show. The other judges included Chris from Tons of Toys, so these are some real celebrities. Freya from Sugar Rush, Mrs. G, the school secretary at Kings Road School, and me. There was 14 amazing acts, very difficult to decide. One of the people that didn't win, but I was so impressed that I was not expecting to hear Dave Brubeck on the piano at a fourth grade talent show, and there was a great rendition of Dave Brubeck. This past Saturday, we had the first annual Newcomers Community Connection event put on by the Thursday Morning Club. It was greatly appreciated by all the newcomers that attended, feeling a way to connect with the borough. And also the community groups that were there felt it was very worthwhile. I want a big thanks to the Thursday Morning Club for all their work on making that happen. I see Ann in the audience there. Thank you. And please take the word back. Employees for the month of June: Sergeant Craig Pirelli, Matthew Mirabella, and Jerry Mantone. And we've got two that please stand up. So let me tell you what they did, and it's something they never, don't even hesitate to do. But this was related to saving a resident having a cardiac arrest. The resident was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Sergeant Pirelli, Patrolman Mirabella, and Patrolman Mantone responded and initiated CPR, and after working tirelessly together with the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps and the mobile intensive care unit, the resident began to breathe and regained a pulse and was transported to Madison Medical Center. So thank you for your service in saving a life. And anniversary for the month of June: Vito Lupino, the Public Works Department, 25 years.
Wow.
As of June 28th. So if you see Vito around town, please thank him for his 25 years of service. And I want to recognize two resident volunteers, Steve Tyndall and Jocelyn Colquin of Barnesdale, who donated and planted flowers from their own garden around the Civic Center. And it was just very nice for them to step forward to add a little beauty to our Civic Center. And I'm going to come down below, and if we can maybe bring a chair up for Vincent. We got it.
Please take this one. We got it, like pink?
Vincent, would you like to please come forward? Patriotic Celebrations Committee, please come up and join with our. We got veterans on the Patriotic Celebrations Committee, and it's great to have them stand side by side. So if you want to sit down, where you can stand if you.
No.
Again.
Yeah. What I'm going to share is just very special, and it's, for what you mean to this country goes well beyond these words. But we know on June 6th, we recognize D-Day, the launch of the Normandy invasion. While we commemorated this event at home, our special guest, Vincent Hines, was in Normandy on the stage with our president and the leaders of the European nations. You'll see the pictures right up there. Vincent returned to the beach that he landed on 75 years ago. And there's a picture of a 19 years old. So young and so brave. He was among 156,000 troops who landed that day. And by the end of day 5, which would be tomorrow, 327,000 troops had landed. And by July 4th, a day that would be, we recognize as Independence Day, and had that not happened, we probably would not be celebrating it today. 1 million had landed. And by July 24th, there were 120,000 casualties. Our hero, Vince, was a diver in the Navy. And as he told Councilwoman Vitale, former council member Bob Landergan, and me yesterday, his primary job was recovery of victims in the water. Yesterday, as we met at his apartment, also talked about the importance of teaching history, as we have some young students in the room, so that generations to come will forever appreciate the sacrifices of generations past. As we talked, Mr. Hines shared his concern that his generation will be forgotten. Vince, you are a member of the greatest generation. We and all our country will forever be thankful to the greatest generation for the heroism you've shown during World War II and then the leadership you brought back to this country, bringing us to where we are today. I have two things to present to you. This is a proclamation from Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, a fellow Navy member. It says, 11th Congressional District of the great state of New Jersey honors Vincent Hines. Be it known that the undersigned member of United States Congress, the Honorable Mikey Sherrill of the 11th Congressional District, hereby honors Vincent Hines on his 75th anniversary of D-Day for his military service during World War II, specifically for his bravery and patriotism during the D-Day Normandy invasion. Signed, Mikey Sherrill.
But wait, there's
Got one more presentation for you. This is a small token. So last week, as you proudly showed your medal yesterday to us, you brought it. Okay, so we'll give you a chance to show it off again. So here's a very special medal. Vincent, as he proudly told us, was one of 5 to receive this medal as a member of the French Legion of Honor. Interestingly, those that fight for France cannot receive it because they figure they get paid to do the job, as you told me yesterday. So it is your heroism that is so well deserved, and an honor from a grateful country and a grateful continent. And today we give you a small token from Madison, the Mayor's Hero Award, for you are our hero. Wow. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words? You want to sit down or you want to stand?
Oh, I think I'll sit down.
Okay, yep. Sounds, you've earned it.
thank you enough for this reception in Madison, New Jersey. I mean, it is outstanding the way people have reacted here. I'm amazed. I am amazed. I just came back from an amazing occurrence in France, but still, I think that Madison, New Jersey is very important to me.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you again for your heroism 75 years ago. And our officers are ready to get you back home safely. And
I just want to make a couple of comments, if I may. Yeah.
I'll hold that for you.
One of the most outstanding reaction to what I went through was the people of France. It is amazing, absolutely amazing. You go into a restaurant, you're going to have something to eat, someone says, "What?" And they're over thanking you. And it's sincere. All I have heard in France was, if it weren't for you Americans, we would not be here today. That is the feeling of these people now. And they're young. They're young people. These are what you were talking about, something that happened 75 years ago. And they feel as strong. The young people, I'm talking young, 18, 20, 25 years old. And they're thanking you. And they're doing it sincerely. It is not just words. It's utterly amazing, And the other thing, the question thing that I'd like to say to the people of Madison and also people from New York, anywhere in the United States, that our young people have to take the same attitude of helping the country. In other words, 75 years is a long time. There's really nobody left in another next 75 years. But your attitude has to be pro-United States of America, and we young people are going to help you just like our people help the old people like myself who survived a wartime. A war, believe me, a war. And you must have the same kind of attitude. Help the people of the United States. If you can do that, believe me, when you get my age, you'll be so grateful for the attitude of the people of the United States of America.
all right. Thank you so much.
It's tough to follow that.
I'm about ready to call for an adjournment because how do you move on from that? But business must go on. But for those that are here tonight and those that will have a chance to watch this later on, this was quite an opportunity to see someone at the age of 19 who landed on the beaches of Normandy 75 years ago to defend the world. So shifting gears, we have some rising stars in the audience. Please come forward.
Yeah. Amazing.
So if you've seen the stalker board on Main Street, see this has been quite a successful year in sports and in drama. And we have a Rising Star, a proclamation recognizing the Rising Star winners. Whereas the Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Awards were created to encourage and reward outstanding achievement by students and educators in the production of high school musical theater. And whereas 100 student productions from high schools across New Jersey competed for the Tony Award style Rising Star Awards. And whereas Madison High School received an amazing 12 nominations and won 6 Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Awards this year for the production of Bright Star, thanks to the dedication, commitment of the cast and crew. And whereas Madison High School was a recipient of the 2019 Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Award for Outstanding Overall Production for Bright Star. And whereas Jaron Cole, not here, okay, received the Rising Star Award for Outstanding Actor in a Leading Role. And whereas Rising Star Award for Outstanding Actress in the Supporting Role went to Alex Roxco. Not here.
No.
Okay. They're high demand right now. So, whereas Blake Spence received Rising Star Award for Outstanding Direction. Not here. Whereas Rising Star Award for Outstanding Scenic Achievement went to Anthony Freitas. And whereas Erin Quinn received Rising Star Award for Student Achievement as Assistant to the Directors. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Conley, Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby congratulate the cast and crew of Bright Star for receiving the esteemed Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Awards. Congratulations.
My name is Dan Malloy. I'm the choir director at Madison High School, and I was the music director and producer of Bright Star. On behalf of the cast, the crew, the students, and members of Madison High School, I just want to say thank you to the community here in Madison. I think this achievement is not possible without your support, both by coming to our shows and by the culture we've created here in Madison, supporting the arts. Without it, we would not be able to put on shows like we do, and it really speaks to what you all have done and what you lead with the young people here. What they're able to do is a result of what you ask of them and the opportunities you give them in this community. So I want to say thank you on behalf of Madison High School, all of the educators, and on behalf of the students in the production. I think they thank you for your support.
Congratulations to everyone.
They just...
Emily Axelson, please come forward. Carissa Finnerty, please come forward. And Elizabeth Kiernan. Tonight we have another special thing to do, and that is to present these 3 Girl Scouts with the Gold Star Award, which is the highest achievement for a Girl Scout. I'm going to have each of them tell us about their project, and then they will be presented their stars.
Hello, my name is Emily Axelson, and for my Gold Award project, I worked with museums across New York and New Jersey to create museum family guide resources. So what that actually means is I created activity guides for museums such as the Morris Museum, the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts right here in Madison, the Newark Museum, and the New York Historical Society in New York City. And what I did as part of those activity guides is I created interactive questions, key vocabulary words for families to share with their small children, fun activities, basically to make a museum visit more engaging and interactive for children and families. And then to extend my program my Gold Award more globally, I created a website where I shared all of my museum family guides and created templates so people could make their own museum family guides across the country or the world. And I also came up with different activity ideas that people could implement. And I also had a blog where I wrote about different museum family guides across the United States. And yeah, I've also completed my Silver and Bronze Award, and I've really enjoyed my experience with the Girl Scouts throughout the past 8 years.
And where are you going next year?
I'm going to Harvard. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Carissa Finnerty. I'm also a senior at Madison High School in Troop 143 with Elizabeth and Emily. For my Gold Award, which I started back in November 2016, I decided to tackle the problem of honeybee population decline in not just America, but all over the world. Honeybees are dying at alarming rate, and it's alarming because they are pollinators and they're extremely important as they're responsible for 1/3 of the produce we grow. So in order to tackle this problem, I did 3 parts to my project. I first asked for seed donations from nurseries and farms around town, and I grew them in a greenhouse in St. Elizabeth with my project advisor, Sean Aneko, who works for Grow Green Morristown. So we grew the seeds there, and then we planted them in the Madison Community Garden. I was very lucky for the staff there to give me a plot for free. So I have right now perennial flowers growing there for the honeybees and the hives there to feed off the nectar and pollen. And it also helps the other gardeners there who are growing produce as well. So it's kind of a full cycle. In addition to the garden I grew, I also painted a mural with an AP art student at Madison High School named Julia Ferranti. So with my design and her handiwork, we painted a mural that helped teach kids why honeybees are important to our agricultural food system and why we need them and why we shouldn't be scared of them, because as we all know, if a little kid sees a bee, he's going to get a little scared and he might try to hurt it. So we need to teach them that they're important to us. So we hung that up in the Nature Net house on Rosa Avenue. In addition to my mural, I also held a booth at the Madison Farmers Market. Lisa Ellis was gracious enough to give me one also for free. Very kind community in Madison. And there I taught homeowners and local gardeners about how we're impacting honeybees in our everyday life. So I gave honey samples to Madisonians. I gave brochures about farms around the area to help people see the full cycle of honeybees and food and agriculture. I also had little bee drawings for people, for little kids to draw. I had seed donations to give out. We signed people up for the Million Pollinator Garden Challenge and such things as that. So it was a lot about awareness, and I was really glad to complete my project and have an impact, not just on honeybees, but the people in Madison. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Kiernan. I'm a senior at Madison High School, and for my Gold Award project, I worked with the Madison Ambulance Corps, and I built 2 chests for them. One was a toy chest so that they could put in the ambulance and put toys in it so pediatric patients could feel more calm when they're in there. And the other chest was for CPR equipment, which they had previously had. And to put toys in the chest, I ran a toy drive at tons of toys, and I had people donate for about a month, and then I gave all the toys to Madison Ambulance Corps, Florham Park, and Morristown Memorial.
Amazing projects, and we will be in great hands for years to come. Thank you. So on behalf, it is a great honor to present each of you with your Gold Award. Emily, not only would like to present you with this Gold Award, I know that your father would be very proud of you and is smiling down on you at this very moment. Congratulations. Carissa, congratulations on your award. Very well done. Keep up the great work. Elizabeth, another great project. Thank you for making a difference. Add that to your silver and bronze right on there. Congratulations to our great Girl Scout leadership here. I say go home and do your homework, but I think that's all done for the year, right?
Night, John.
Thank you, John.
Get home. Lindsay, get his medal back.
The officers.
Be home. Yeah.
All right, that was a little bit longer for opening, but I think a very special opening for tonight's meeting. We'll now move on to reports from committees. Public Safety, Council President Bailey.
Oh, thank you. That's a little hard to follow. From the Fire Department. During the month of May, the Fire Department responded to 26 general alarms, 10 still alarms, 13 investigations, 39 medical calls. The department held 2 drills, four firefighters attended 16-hour vehicle extrication class at the Middlesex Fire Academy. The Fire Department also participated in the Madison Newcomers Community Connection, which was held, as the mayor said, this Saturday, June 8th. And the Fire Department is looking for volunteers. If you are a Madison resident, 18 to 45, and in good physical and mental health, please consider becoming a volunteer firefighter, and you can go to www.madisonfd.com for more information on how to join. And then, just briefly, National Trails Day was this past Saturday. The mayor cut the ribbon for our new trails at Summerhill Park. A county grant, along with our own open space funding, made those those trails available. And we have right now created 1.5 miles of new trails there. And I really urge people to go up there and walk them. They're really great trails. It's a beautiful, beautiful wooded area. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Thank you very much. Finance Borough Clerk, Mrs. Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Safety Committee, in order to promote safety and limit insurance claims, the Borough holds a quarterly safety meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for June 19th. Administration, Finance Department staff, and department heads all meet to review insurance issues, workers' compensation claims, and safety-related topics such as certification, playground safety, best practices, festivals, and special events, and the review of right-to-know law, which deals with environmental issues in the workplace. Training programs offered by our insurance company and forklift safety. I'm going to say this. I didn't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. Did you know that tomorrow, June 11th, is National Forklift Safety Day? Anyway, so I'd like to thank all the department heads. They've been doing a great job in keeping the borough safe and the playgrounds and whatever. It's very important. It's a very important committee. From the Chief Financial Officer, you may have noticed a new building under construction at Giralda Farms. Atlantic Health is building a new rehab facility in Madison. If you're driving down Madison Avenue or at the light at Giralda Farms, you can see the building down the hill and to the left of the guardhouse. When new facilities are built in town, the borough receives fees, certain development fees. Last week, the Finance Department received the following fees from this project. There's $154,279 in water connection fees, $66,663 in sewer connection fees, and $139,145 for affordable housing fees. The affordable housing fees will be deposited in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and are available to help the borough satisfy our required affordable housing obligation. From the tax office, our tax collector, Chrissy Mailer, submitted reports to the Morris County Tax Board this past Wednesday for the senior citizen and veterans tax deductions. These reports certified to the number of deductions that were submitted to the office and the amount of reimbursement that the borough will receive from the state. This year, our seniors and veterans living in Madison will receive $63,540 in property tax relief. Residents that have questions about these important programs should visit or call the tax collector's office. Taking care of our seniors and veterans is of utmost importance to us here in the borough, as you saw tonight, definitely. From the Finance Department, the draft audit was distributed to the members of the Audit Committee earlier today. The committee will hold a meeting on June 17, and then the council will receive the audit after that. The Mayor's Ad Hoc Committee studying surplus balances has a meeting scheduled for June 20th with both the auditor and bond attorney. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Utilities. I'm just trying to zip right around here. Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, in the electric department, I want to note that Pat Gallagher, Senior Administrative Assistant at the Water and Electric Plant, is going to be retiring as of tomorrow. Pat has given the borough 15 years of excellent service, and she was going to be missed by all. Second, we expect to have over 2,600 smart meters installed by the end of the summer, and that will be approximately one half of the borough. The finance department is finalizing bid documents so we can purchase another 2,400 meters later this year, and that will allow us to continue installing meters through the fall. The finance department has also placed orders for 2 handheld units. These units are Android devices about the size of a regular smartphone. They'll be able to process data more rapidly, and that will allow our staff to read and install meters faster. And then from the water department would like to remind customers that water pumping totals have now doubled from 1.7 million gallons per day to 3.4 because of lawn watering. Your lawn only needs 1 to 1.5 inches of water a week, which can be done by watering just 2 or 3 times a week. And some great ways to save water: only water in the early morning before the sun rises, and use drip lines for all your plantings. Watering when the hot sun is out wastes 50% of the water to evaporation, and spraying the water on streets or sidewalks wastes 100% of that water. Also, homes with irrigation systems should have an automatic rain sensor to postpone the next watering cycle, or better yet, an internet-connected system that tracks all weather, rain, temperature, wind, etc. This can save a homeowner from using hundreds of thousands of gallons per water a year. And finally, remember, this is our drinking water that you're putting on your lawn to keep it green, so please use it wisely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Ms. Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow may be forklift safety, but Friday was National Donut Day, and we celebrated here in Madison with donuts. Not much from engineering or DPW. They just continue to do the great job that they always have, maintaining the streets and roads. And then as far as DPW is concerned, doing necessary work to maintain our vehicles and our fields, and they're just doing a remarkable job. So that's it.
Thank you. Community Affairs, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, the last meeting was held at, Rexford Tucker Senior Housing on May 8th. We had a very good turnout and a lively discussion and feedback. We had about 25 people from the resident there. Plus, we got 2 additional volunteers for the farmers market. The next open public meeting of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee is this Thursday at 2 p.m. at the Senior Center. Please come on over and listen and participate. Several volunteers stepped up to clean up the front lawn at the Senior Center and donate flowers from their personal gardens for the front and rear of the Civic Center. I mention these because volunteering is increasing at the Senior Center. for the senior center itself. The trip to beautiful in Manhattan was a huge hit. 89 people attended, and there was a wait list of 11 people. Several volunteers stepped up to clean up the mall, and I mentioned that already. A senior picnic will be catered on August 21st. All are welcome. Look for more details in the newsletter. Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition, a cooperative joint learning program among Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition, the Adult School, and the Mayor's Wellness Programs of Madison and Chatham, was held on May 15th and May 22nd at the Madison Community Arts Center. The program was The Conversation of Your Life, also called Everyone Dies, and was meant for all ages as a way for people to actively plan their lifelong wishes. We're going to do the program again in the fall. For the business development, the farmers market, as you know, is now open for the 2019 season. Hopefully there will be no rain this week. There wasn't last week. There has been rain in the past. It's open from 2 to 7 in the afternoon, and we do have musical performances. Bottle Hill Day sponsorship and application packets are now available on rosenet.org and have been sent via email to past participants. Chamber of Commerce 2019-20 updated Madison Loyalty Rewards Card is now available for purchase at the Madison Pharmacy. Offers are valid through December 31st, 2020. The mayor mentioned the awards dinner. The fire extinguisher inspection program scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, June 11th, from 12 to 4 p.m. at the corner of Main and Central. The Museum of Early Trades and Crafts, the exterior work on the historic James Building, now the home of METC, has been completed. The new work now turns to the interior, and METC has applied to Morris County Historic Preservation Trust once again for funding to do the comprehensive conservation assessment of all the interior finishes, including the north wall, which has serious water damage to the stenciled walls. The museum will be closed from Monday, June 10th today through Monday, June 24th for the installation of a major new exhibit called Sweet Treats. In Maca, Jerry Veza was elected president effective July 1st, and Deborah Starker will be the new vice president. For the Recreation Advisory Committee, the spring schedule is starting to wind down, and over the next few weeks, be transitioning to the summer schedule. The Junior Boys Lacrosse hosted the Platypus Tournament at the MRC and the Madison High School the weekend of June 1st and 2nd. Games were held on both fields and across the MHS campus all day Saturday and Sunday. For the 7th consecutive year, the MRC will again be host to the Jersey Strong Lacrosse Showcase. The event will be held on both MRC fields and at Madison High School on Wednesday, June 12th from 3:30 to 9 p.m. Showcase features some of the best high school teams from across the region, including Madison High School. A big thanks to DPW for all of their work on the fields this spring. Cancellations have been kept to a minimum despite very rainy weather, and the fields have consistently reopened for play faster than could reasonably be expected. For the Mayor's Wellness Program, a fitness crawl is tentatively scheduled for September 14th at 405 locations with the Community Arts Center as the hub. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Health, Ms. Cohen.
Measles cases continue to be monitored in New Jersey and in surrounding states. The most recent outbreak in Ocean County was considered over in May when there were no additional cases reported over a 42-day period, which is 2 incubation cycles. Madison Health Department reminds families who are traveling with infants 6 months to 11 months to consult with their provider about the MMR vaccine for their child. It is recommended to be administered at least 2 weeks prior to travel. The Madison Health Department represented at the Newcomers Community Expo this past Saturday at the Community House, and the next meeting of the Board of Health will be this coming Tuesday, June 18th at 7:30 at the Health Department on Walnut Street. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Communications petitions.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Council received a letter dated May the 21st, 2019 from the Hartley Dodge Memorial Trustees related to the sale of the Rodan.
Thank you. And now we're on to the first of 2 invitations for discussion. As always, this one is limited to the agenda discussions or resolutions that are part of the consent agenda. As with both discussion times, please try to keep your comments at 3 minutes, but I will give you a 1-minute warning at 3 and a hard stop at 4 minutes. The agenda discussions today in Madison Affordable Housing, and that's related to the Memorandum of Understanding, and also land use amendment related to front-facing garages. The resolutions that are a part of the consent agenda, let me go through these quickly so you know they're in consent agenda, and if you want to comment on them. Our 189 is renewing various liquor licenses throughout the Borough of Madison. 190 is appointing Keith Gaddy, David McSherry, and Robert Pretoria as substitute crossing guards. 190, and that's salaries in there. Oh, yep. I don't know if it's in there or not. 191 is approving construction of pavilion at the Madison Community Pool, where they have a land lease from the borough. 192 is a memorandum of understanding with the Fair Share Housing Center. You'll be hearing more about that shortly, so I will not go into detail on that one. 193 is ratifying salary increase for confidential employees excluded from union participation. So there are employees in this building that are part of a union and some that are not part of a union, and this keeps the non-union members in parity. 194 is appointing Janet Wagstaff to the position of Senior Office Assistant in the Water and Electric Department for an annual salary of $45,000. Resolution 195, National Water main cleaning in the amount of $292,000 for the annual sewer main line program, and this is funded through Ordinance 2-2019. Resolution 196 is authorizing the wellness program with the Madison area YMCA. 197 is change order to MBT contracting for the Madison Electric Storage building project, and this is increasing the contract by $18,408, which is 5.5%, and this is funded through ordinances 1 and 6, 2019. Resolution 199 is a contract to Cefelli Sun General Construction amount of $199,000 Community Place Reconstruction Project. This is funded through Ordinance 18-2019, is supported by a Community Development Block Grant from the county. Resolution 199 is supporting the passage of Equality Act to ensure federal civil rights are fully inclusive of protections of the basis of sexual orientation and gender identification sex, and this is recognizing that June is Gay Pride Month in the state of New Jersey. Resolution 200 is rewarding contract to straighten narrow pavement marking for asphalt treatment and restriping work amount not to exceed $21,000 funded through Ordinance 2, 2019. Resolution 201 is appointing Michael Quinn to the position of Assistant Construction Code Official and Fire Code Subcode Official, and this is at a annual salary of $104,000. So you make. And Resolution 202 is requesting the Director of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an item of revenue in the budget year 2019. This is related to basically $31,000 State of New Jersey Clean Communities Grant, and we wish to have that amended to our budget so it can be counted in this year's budget. So you can comment on any of those resolutions or the two agenda items. If you wish to comment, please step forward, state your name and the agenda item that you are commenting on. We are using a wireless mic because the wired one was doing the same crackling of the last two meetings, so you may need to hold that mic up.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Ehrlich. I reside at Kings Road. I'm speaking tonight in support of Resolution R199 regarding the Equality Act. With this resolution, we affirm that LGBTQ folks and women have a right to live free from discrimination. Though New Jersey is a leader when it comes to equal treatment for our LGBT community, the fact remains that across the country it is still legal to discriminate against LGBTQ Americans in employment, housing, and education. Most states don't explicitly ban anti-LGBTQ discrimination, and a patchwork of laws across the country means that 44% of American LGBTQ people have no statewide protections from discrimination. Majorities in every state support laws protecting LGBTQ people from discrimination in jobs, housing, and public accommodation. That includes 79% of Democrats, 70% of independents, and 56% of Republicans who say they favor the laws. Moreover, a majority in every age group, from millennials to the elderly, supports these laws. The Equality Act would ensure that all Americans, regardless of gender and sexual orientation, who want to have the opportunity to work hard, earn a living, and thrive, can continue to do so free from fear of discrimination. I join with the Council and Mayor in urging our senators to work to bring the Equality Act to vote, where I hope lawmakers of all political stripes will hear the will of the American people and pass the Equality Act. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on any of the resolutions or agenda items? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting. Move on to the affordable housing. So let me start with a few comments, and we'll do a little tag team with the presentation. As you've heard from my almost monthly comments, we've been going through a long process in the settlement negotiations, and we are finally at a point where we can share the specifics. It's been a very complicated process, and there is far more information available on Rosenet, so I encourage all residents, whether you're here or watching this on TV at a later date, to go to Rosenet for that information. We also will have a town meetings, either part of a council meeting or special sessions, as we move forward, getting closer to the actual settlement. What we're doing today is a memorandum of understanding. This is a process that started 2015, so the sitting council right now is bringing this to fruition, but there were people in these seats that worked very hard in getting us to the point we are today. And I want to especially thank our committee that gave up days to sit in the courthouse, whether it was in Morristown or Newton, to sometimes just sit in the hallway while the attorneys, professionals worked through, and that was Ostry Bailey and Pat Rowe and Carmela Vitale sitting in when we were shorthanded. So it was a great team effort, and not just those that sat in there, but again, the full council that made it all happen. So, back in 2015, Madison had filed a declaratory judgment action, and Fair Share Housing opposed that action, and virtually every other town in New Jersey. At that time, Fair Share Housing claimed that Madison should be building about 1,000 affordable housing units. What you're about to hear is the fact that we've negotiated, and we're close to the settlement, that we will have to build 40 affordable units by the year 2025. And if Pat will give a little more detail on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So some details about the 40 units. To do this, we're planning to utilize a small unused portion of the MRC, the Madison Recreation Complex, about 2.2 acres, which is currently fenced off from public use. The property is already off the tax rolls. It's actually in need of remediation. Part of the project will include cleaning up the historical environmental contamination caused by the rose growing, and it's being shown on the screen now. It's the yellow area at the entrance to the MRC, adjacent to the Board of Education property, which is to the left of it. Madison does have funds dedicated for this purpose rather than our Open Space Trust Fund, and this money came from the original seller of the MRC site. Up to 50% of the units will have a preference for veterans. This is something we discussed with Fair Share Housing, and they were very supportive of. And the state has already approved the site change from open space to affordable housing, but we now need to wait for approval from the county. And this is the main reason we're entering into a memorandum of understanding tonight rather than a final agreement, which we typically had hoped to do.
And Ostry will give some background on just helping everyone understand what truly is affordable housing.
Yeah. We have in Madison, and we have really are very honored to say that we were on the forefront of scattered site housing, affordable housing here in Madison. Who is in affordable housing? Well, you'll find your teachers, your professors, police officers, fire department, restaurant workers. They live in affordable housing. They are our neighbors. They are active members of our community. They are residents with income up to $80,000 are eligible for affordable housing. So as I said, we have scattered site housing because we always felt that the housing should be part of the community. And the locations of our affordable housing, we have 6 units on Belmont Avenue. We have 16 units on Central Avenue, 80 units on Chateau Terry, 10 units on Community Place, 12 units on Cook Avenue, 2 on Division Avenue, 5 on Elm Street, 10 on John Avenue, 12 on Lewanika Way, 12 on Park Avenue, and 3 on Strickland Place. So throughout the town, your neighbors may be living in a house that we have been able to provide for them if their income level is such that they can apply for the housing. Okay.
So, and you may ask, why are we settling? And the biggest reason is that without a settlement, builders could ignore our zoning laws and build large developments in the town. Just think about, for those familiar with going south on 287, the hills in Bedminster, which was inclusionary and very heavily development, truly changed Bedminster forever. Or what's going up at the corner of Park Avenue, Columbia Turnpike on the former Honeywell site. So those are our biggest concern, is if we sat back and let the builders come in with their remedies, Madison would be changed forever. So this is why we have working towards a settlement with Fair Share Housing to protect Madison for these development and in legal terms, to prevent losing our immunity to builders' remedy lawsuits. While not, and we'd still, even if we ignored it and had builders' remedy, we still would be in the courts working to a solution. So that's why we're trying to get to a settlement. And just a couple other nearby developments to keep in mind as to why we are doing this, to have this truly in the control of Madison and not of others. There's 425 active adult residential homes going up right next to Realogy. You've seen the ground being cleared. That's quite impactful as you look at that site. Right now in East Hanover, there's a proposal for 607 inclusionary housing units. So it's a combination of market value and affordable housing, and that'll be in the old Nabisco property in East Hanover. That is a major % increase for that community. And I already mentioned that was 235 townhomes going up on the former Honeywell site on Park Avenue and Columbia Turnpike. So that is why we worked so hard to get to a settlement, and we'll be passing this memorandum of understanding. And at this point, I'm going to call up our planners, Dr. Susan Blickstein and Elizabeth McManus, to share some background so you can help understand. And again, I'm saying this with the caveat that there's more meetings to come. We are helping you understand what the MOU is, but we will continue to roll out information so when we get to the final settlement, you're fully educated in the public and all the residents of Madison know where we are.
Good evening. We're going to give you just the highlights tonight with, as Mayor Connolly said, a lot more detail to come. I'm going to have Beth McManus start with a little bit of background, and then I'll finish up with a view of the approaches that are being considered by the borough.
Thanks, Susan.
It might be the curse of that location. If it's not the microphone's buzzing, it's a...
Oh.
There it goes.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Beth McManus, and I'm here working with Susan Blickstein. We're going to go through some additional information that the mayor just proposed. Okay. So first, let me give a little bit of background information and just make clear why it is that we do this in New Jersey. It is technically a a voluntary program, in a sense, that municipalities are not required to come forward and provide for their affordable housing obligation. However, it is really heavily incentivized, and it's in the best interest of every community in New Jersey, and particularly Madison, to go through this process. Because doing so, going through this voluntary process, gives you immunity from builder's remedy litigation, which, as stated earlier today, is a type of litigation that essentially, for municipalities that don't participate in this process, for municipalities that don't meet their affordable housing obligation, it leaves them vulnerable to a developer coming forward and offering to help them provide for their affordable housing obligation. And that offer is really a proposed development that is not in line with the zoning, and it is typically bigger and more dense than what a municipality is comfortable with. So if you think about property that might become available in, say, a single-family district, well, the developer's proposal might be multifamily. In a commercial district, it might not be commercial development. Instead, it might be residential development. Again, most often, multifamily development. And that's really a painful process for a municipality, because it takes the control of their zoning, the control of their land use out of their hands, and essentially gives it to the developer, because the town has, in the court's eyes, failed to provide for this affordable housing obligation, this constitutional obligation. And so Madison has started this process in 2015, and actually in years past through previous affordable housing rules, in order to maintain its zoning, maintain the control and the power over its zoning by participating in this process and getting its affordable housing obligation satisfied, and importantly, getting that obligation satisfied through a housing plan that's approved either by the state agency that used to be in place, the Council on Affordable Housing, but now it's Superior Courts. Sorry. Oh, okay. And so there's a very long history, and I'm not going to go through the history for all of this. It started in the 1970s. But what's really important for tonight and for generally is to understand that this does start at the New Jersey Supreme Court back in the 1970s with the Mount Laurel 1 decision. And that first decision, very simply stated, municipalities must allow housing, must provide for housing through its zoning for households of all incomes, from the wealthy down to low income. We had another court decision, Mount Laurel 2, and that basically said it's not just simply you have to provide the zoning, you actually have to meet a number and show how it is that you meet that number of affordable housing units. That progressed through the courts. We eventually had the New Jersey Fair Housing Act adopted, and that really regulated the process and set forth a clear process for municipalities to follow, so they weren't subject to these builders' remedy litigation. And that eventually set up our state agency that was in place, the Council on Affordable Housing. They did their job relatively well during the first round and the second round, which lasted from 1987 through 1999. Once we hit the third round, from 1999 through 2014, that is when things started to go awry. There was quite a bit of litigation. Ultimately, it boils down to we should have had new third-round rules, new rules on affordable housing in 1999. They were delayed. They were adopted. They were overturned by the courts multiple times. It eventually went up to the Supreme Court. What we had was in 2015, what kickstarted Madison process was the New Jersey Supreme Court saying, municipalities, you must just forge ahead and work with the New Jersey courts. You no longer have a state agency that you can rely upon to produce rules and help guide you through this process. And that's really where we are today. Over 4 years later, Madison is doing what a number of municipalities are continuing to do, in that they're negotiating to try to seek a settlement of this obligation. And that's important because that settlement is the first step for trying to gain this immunity from builders' remedy litigation. And so in 2015, once we had this New Jersey Supreme Court decision, ultimately what was required is that the municipality go ahead and file for a declaratory judgment. And that is essentially a legal process where the municipality raises its hand to the court and said, we want to comply. Please help us do so. Please give us immunity from builders' remedy while we go through this process. Madison did that, And the next step there is to seek that settlement, which is all important. That settlement that's referred to and this memorandum of understanding, which the borough is considering this evening, is a first step towards that settlement. The settlement in this memorandum of understanding begins to do a few things. One, it identifies the obligation and starts to set forth preliminarily how the municipality will satisfy that obligation. So the MOU addresses things in a lesser level of detail. The full settlement, which should be forthcoming much later in the year, will go through much more detailed compliance of exactly what sites and exactly what strategy will be needed to satisfy that obligation. Once the settlement is in place, it actually has to be approved by the court before it becomes activated, essentially, and that's done through a fairness hearing. Once that's done, the municipality then moves into the implementation phase, which is implementation of the settlement agreement, where the town takes the details of the settlement agreement and further fleshes it out into a housing element and fair share plan. And that's a document adopted by the planning board, endorsed by this council, and that document, too, will receive approval from the courts as part of a compliance hearing. And so that's the process that we are currently within. We're still in the process of seeking a settlement. We're potentially going to have a memorandum of understanding that sets forth the beginning details of this settlement agreement. And that will lead to these latter steps of the ultimate settlement agreement, the court approval of it, and the housing element, and then the court approval of that. And so with that, I'm going to turn things over to Susan to go through some of the details of what's in the borough's.
So there are basically two major components of any municipality's settlement, and particular to Madison. In meeting the third round obligation, we are a vacant land community, meaning that we do not have enough vacant land to generate enough units, so we are seeking a vacant land adjustment through the settlement process, and that involves doing an analysis, very, very detailed, rule-driven, tedious. I had no white hair 4 years ago when we started this analysis. I did, actually, but essentially called the RDP. It's a way that you, in essence, estimate your realistic development potential. How much housing can we accommodate within Madison based on your land constraints? So that analysis has been underway, and it details what realistically could be built. The second piece is addressing any deficit. So what I want to point out is that we are looking to utilize prior round existing affordable housing units within the borough as much as possible towards that realistic development potential number. And in addition to that, as you heard tonight, there is a consideration of a 40-unit predominantly for families in a part of the MRC that would be cleaned up to accommodate residential development. We also, and I just want to say something just a little bit more about that site, which is that in our discussions and our settlement discussions, the fact that the site is proximate to parks and schools, that you have sidewalks on Ridgedale Avenue and a network that connects within the community is viewed very favorably. A lot of communities end up with their affordable housing in very distant locations that don't have any of those amenities. So that's something I think that's very positive. And also the ability to connect to existing and future trails as part of the MRC development. So we did put an aerial up just to give a little bit more context to the other graphic that you saw that shows a rough indication of where that 2 acres plus or minus is located. And the other piece of what we have to do to meet our third round obligation is to identify strategies that can capture additional affordable housing throughout the community as development occurs. And the way that this is generally achieved is through the use of overlay zoning that would allow either multifamily housing or additional potential density in certain locations of the borough. An overlay district gives a property owner an additional option. They still retain their current zoning, but they are allowed to, if they so desire, to take advantage of a different set of standards. For instance, in the CC district right now, which is basically east of the downtown along your Main Street commercial district, there is a cap on multifamily units of 8 units on any parcel. So you can do mixed use. You can have first floor commercial and some apartments above, but there's a cap on the number of units, and it has to be mixed use. So something an overlay could evaluate in certain blocks where there are particular opportunities might be that the borough could look at allowing multifamily without the commercial on the ground floor and without a cap on the number of units that could be accommodated on a particular property. So the overlay gives a property owner an additional option. It's something that gets built out over a long period of time. As we all know, development occurs as the market allows it to occur, and we go through various phases of development over decades. But overlay districts would capture some of those opportunities throughout the borough. The other thing that I want to note is that there's also some possibility of looking at some underutilized properties. Like I said, the borough doesn't have a lot of vacant land, but there are a few properties that might warrant some examination for either rezoning and or overlay districts. So that's what we are considering to meet, in essence, the delta between kind of the number that the court gives you and the realistic development potential, what you can realistically construct within the borough. And that delta is addressed through these broader strategies that capture units over time within the community. And I think it's basically...
Yep. So questions from the council? Besides our planners, we also have our attorney, Jim Bruno, in the audience if our council members have any questions. All right. Thank you very much. And as I mentioned before, we will be rolling out more meetings as we progress, and plenty of information is on RoseNet, so please avail yourself of all that information. It is quite extenuous. Moving on to our next item is land use ordinance amendment. Ostry.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. The agenda item is amending Section 195-32E in parens 3, brackets lowercase a, and the R1, R2, R3 single-family residential zone, R4 two-family residential zone regulations. We approved an ordinance in 2018 talking about garages and front-facing garages. And we said at the time that the planning board, our planner, and our deputy zoning officer would, observe the ordinance, see if it worked, how it worked, and we determined that corner lots are problematic, and we needed to tweak the ordinance to make some accommodations for corner lots. And so when we did that, we had to choose. What we're choosing is that where you put your front door, the other corner will be the place where you can put your garage. Will be allowed, as opposed to now it's not allowed. It's a variance. So on corner lots, the primary front yard for purposes of this section shall be that yard upon which the front door faces. Garages facing the secondary front yard shall be permitted. Okay, so simple change, but we find that will make a very big difference for those people applying and building on corner lots. And our planner is still here to answer any questions.
Any questions of our planner? And as I commented when we did the initial ordinance last year, is that zoning ordinances are forever evolving, whether it's through kind of a learning curve like this one to see how it works out, or through changing times. And so as zoning goes in there, it gets changed to, protect, enhance the character of a town, and it may make houses that were built a long time ago don't meet zoning, but they're perfectly fine being where they are because they were built at a different time.
I have a really quick question. Do we have any framework helping people decide which street they're going to put their front door on?
Susan will answer that.
Yes, Susan, thank you.
Well, in general, is this on?
Yep.
When it comes to residential properties, property owners would be working with their architects. Their architects and designers tend to be in touch with the borough's zoning and engineering office. And so it appears to us that there's an awareness of the standards. And in fact, we've seen projects sort of modified either to avoid having to go to the zoning board for variances, or in some cases choosing to go for a variance. In general, it'll depend on the design of a new home as to which way they want it to face a front door, and there's no one way to do it. And so it'll be up to the property owner and their architect to make that determination. And this really, the focus of this is in the R1, R2 district, where the front-facing garages were completely prohibited. This now includes a clarification for corner lots, which to be honest, are the trickier properties to work with. Because in essence, your entire frontage faces public streets. And so they are particularly challenging.
Yeah.
So this will give that flexibility for property owners to work with their architects and decide what works best for them.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, having owned a corner lot once, you're pretty much non-conforming no matter what you do, and so this at least recognizes that you can do this without having to get a variance as opposed to what I had to do. Any other comments? So this is listed for introduction. Ordinance 23-2019. Tonight there are no ordinances for hearings because we had a shorter turnaround time due to the Memorial Day holiday, so ordinances 21 and 22 will have a hearing on June 24th. So now we're on to second invitation for discussion. This is when you may comment on any topic. Same rules apply. Step up, state your name, your address. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but I will give you a 1-minute grace period. Anyone wish to comment, please step forward. Rob, welcome.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
All right.
Worked on a trading floor for 25 years. I don't think I need to.
No, because we need to record,
Oh,
so
okay,
you have.
fair
Yep,
enough.
sorry.
Hi, Rob Cattle, 272 Woodland Road. I have two questions. First, quickly, I know that many times in the past, Recreation Advisory Council asked about the building of a field house on the contaminated land in the MRC, and they were repeatedly told it was not, you couldn't do that because the land was purchased with green space or green acres. And I'm wondering why it's okay to put affordable housing there. And if the answer is, well, we went to the county and asked for permission, my follow-up question to that is, why didn't you ask for permission for the field house? Number two, as it pertains to financial reporting for the electric utility spend, I watched the meeting last week and I saw someone come up and demand that Kathy Bailey apologize to Jim for some comments she made about the reporting. First of all, I want to say I hold Jim's character in high esteem, and this has nothing to do with him. But when one examines closely some of the documentation that's sent out, one could see where people could be misunderstand what's written. First of all, when I ran unsuccessfully for council in 2016, a big part of my platform was to lower electric rates. The council responded, not the council, but there was a lot of concern about a lot of back and forth, and the point was made very clearly by the administration that electric surplus was used to offset taxes. In fact, some people who went to visit the administration came up with the sort of 3-to-1 multiplier. For every $1 you save in electric rates, your municipal taxes would go up by $3. So I think it's just fair and right that you can't have it both ways. So if, when challenged about lowering rates, the answer is we can't because we use them to offset taxes, then it's reasonable to expect that the money that you use to offset the taxes be included in financial reporting that lauds the low tax rates that Madison pays. Furthermore, if taken as a standalone business, the municipal electric department returns something like 45% profit margin, which is up there with great companies like Apple and Nike. So to include a line item in these budget things that are sent out every year that shows, that the utility is is supported by the municipal tax rate, one could see why that could be confusing, because after all, it's the electric utility surplus that supports the taxes and the borough, not vice versa. So, all this name calling aside, I think the points are valid, and I would urge that we pay much closer attention.
1 minute.
You got it. We would pay much closer attention to the presentation of this data and try to make it as simple as possible. And again, we can't have it both ways. If we can't cut rates because your taxes would go up, then those monies really should be used to in any sort of per capita, comparison you're doing. I don't like per capita comparisons, because think about the two-person town. One guy makes $1 million, one guy makes $100,000. The average per capita income is $550. Not really. You understand what I'm saying? But still, if you're going to do that, you should include all the monies that are being used to support the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just to answer the one question related to how can you build, there, the acreage that has been pointed out is was actually noted in the initial application by Green Acres as kind of exempt because of the environmental issues, and so the state clarified that that property is not part of the Green Acres property and can be developed. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to the introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for Monday, June the 24th. All will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinances for first reading. I ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinances by title. Ordinance 23-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Chapter 195 Land Development Ordinance for the Borough.
Mayor, I move ordinance 23-2019.
I second the motion.
Any further council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $391,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a new pumper in 2020.
Mayor, I move ordinance 24-2019.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Ordinance 25-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $110,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a new trailer and equipment for the fire department.
Mayor, I move ordinance 25-2019.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Ordinance 26-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $12,500 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of 4 new sets of firefighter turnout gear.
Mayor, I move ordinance 26-2019.
And I second that motion.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move R 189 2019 through R 202 2019.
Second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Can we done separately? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes, but I'll abstain from R 196.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
There is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the voucher registry?
The current fund, $179,811.70. General Capital Fund, $353,223.16. The Electric Operating Fund, $276,431.76. Electric Capital Fund, $19,555. Water Operating Fund, $4,244.61, and the trust, $57,560.37. The total is $890,826.60.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
There is no new business.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Well done. Great evening.
Sorry.